Imagine dying to save the one friend you trusted above all others, and waking up 3 centuries later to discover that the same friend broke every promise you died for, and made peace with the monsters you bled to kill. So here is the question that drives the whole story. If your best comrade swore an oath over your corpse, swore to finish the war, to slay every last demon king, and then simply didn't, but instead shook hands with the enemy and built a golden age on that handshake, what would you do when you got a second life inside his bloodline? Would you forgive him? Or would you pick up the sword again and finish it yourself? By the end of this recap, you'll understand exactly why Vermouth did what he did. And it is not the betrayal it looks like. This is damn Reincarnation, and I'm going to walk you through the whole story beginning to end. Let's get into it. 300 years before our story truly begins, the world of humans stood on the edge of extinction. The Devildom of Helmuth, a nation of demons ruled by 5 demon kings, each a living catastrophe, had spent generations grinding humanity down. And against that darkness rose 5 people the histories would remember forever as the 5 great heroes. There was Vermouth the Great, the swordsman without equal, the man who would become a legend so total that statues of him still stand in every city. There was Anise the Faithful, the saintess, the holy healer, whose divinity held the party together. There was Molan the Brave, the immovable spearman. There was Sienna the Wise, the archmage. And there was the 5th, the one the songs are least kind to, Hamel the Foolish. Hamel was the muscle, the brute, the reckless one who charged where wiser heads hesitated, who took wounds meant for others, who fought like a man with nothing to lose because in truth he never quite valued his own life the way he valued the people beside him. The bards gave him the nickname the Foolish, half in mockery and half in love, because only a fool throws himself onto a blade for someone else again and again and calls it strategy. And the 5 did the impossible. They marched into Helmuth itself, and one by one they cut down 3 of the 5 demon kings, 3 monsters that had haunted humanity for centuries, dead by their hands, and only 2 remained. The demon king of destruction, the strongest of them all, and the demon king of incarceration, master of the prison fortress at the heart of the Devildom. It was in that fortress, in the lair of the demon king of incarceration, that everything broke. The fight turned. A blow came that should have ended Vermouth the Great, the one indispensable man, the only blade that could finish the war, and Hamel did the one thing Hamel always did. He put his own body in the way. He took the strike meant for his friend, and it killed him. He died there on the cold stone of an enemy fortress, with the job half finished and 2 demon kings still breathing, and his last sight was his comrades' faces, swearing through their grief that they would finish it, that they would slay the rest in his name. The foolish hero closed his eyes, believing the war was as good as won. He was wrong about that, and he would have 300 years to find out how wrong. Hamel opens his eyes again as a baby. He is reincarnated, reborn with every memory of his old life perfectly intact into the body of an infant 3 centuries later. And of all the families in all the world he could have been delivered into, fate drops him into the bloodline of his old comrade. He is now Eugene Lionheart, a distant minor scion of the great Lionheart family, the house founded by Vermouth himself. But not the glittering main branch. Eugene is born into a collateral family, a side branch that split off generations ago and was quietly pushed out into the countryside, a line so unremarkable that no member of it has made the slightest mark on history. His father is Gerard Lionheart, a big earnest country knight of a man who adores the strange solemn child he's been given. And there is one of the quiet aches at the heart of this story. Eugene, carrying the soul of a battle-hardened veteran, cannot at first bring himself to see this gentleman as his father at all. It takes time, years of patient, uncomprehending love from Gerard, before the old soldier's heart finally thaws and lets the word father mean something again. But the infant has bigger problems than family feeling, because as Eugene grows, he starts to learn what became of the world after he died, and almost none of it makes sense to him. The war he died fighting, it never finished. The remaining 2 demon kings were never slain. Instead, Vermouth, Vermouth the Great, who swore over Hamel's body to end them all, laid down his sword and signed a peace treaty with the Demon King of Incarceration. 300 years of coexistence between humans and demons, built on that single unthinkable compromise. The man who was supposed to be the world's executioner became instead its peacemaker. And then, he vanished from history, leaving behind only legend, a continent at uneasy peace and a family name. To Eugene, this is a gut punch dressed as a golden age. He died for a promise, and the promise was broken, and the man who broke it is worshipped as a saint for breaking it. There's a second cruelty waiting for him too, one of pure pride. In his last life, Hamel was a martial artist, a man of the body, of aura and the sword, and raw physical mastery. But the Lionheart bloodline is famous for magic. They are a wizarding house, channeling power through stars. Circles of mana awakened in the soul. So the reborn warrior, who once stood among the 5 mightiest beings alive, has to start again from nothing as a child, learning a discipline he privately disdained, and clawing his way back up a ladder he once stood at the very top of. That is the engine of the early story, and it is enormously satisfying. A legend trapped in a beginner's body, gritting his teeth through the indignity of being weak, again, because he knows with absolute lived certainty exactly how strong a person can become, and he is not willing to die a second time having settled for less. So Eugene trains, and the way he trains is the heart of the power fantasy. He brings a veteran's mind to a child's gifts. Where other young wizards of the Lionheart house learn the white flame formula, the family's signature art, as rote technique, Eugene understands it from the inside out because he understands combat in a way no pampered noble heir ever could. He awakens his stars one by one, and as he climbs, he does something no one in 300 years thought to do. He fuses the Lionheart magic with the martial discipline of his past life. He weds the wizard's circle to the warrior's body and invents from the marriage a new art entirely, the ring flame formula. That lets him pour out power far beyond what a mage of his level has any right to wield. His flame burns hotter and cleaner than the family's. His stars eventually begin to turn of their own accord, rotating in a way that lets him unleash an outrageous output of mana the instant he wills it. He is not a prodigy in the lazy sense. He is a master who happens to be starting over, and the difference is the whole point. Along the way, he gathers the trappings of a true hero. He claims a great sword, the Stormblade Wynid, and he forges a contract with Tempest, the Wind Spirit King, becoming a spirit user as well as a swordsman and a mage. Wind answers to him now. He can command the lower spirits of the air, sharpen the breeze into blades, accelerate himself past what any human body should manage, even fly. Sword, magic, spirit, Eugene becomes a fusion of all three, which is exactly what the genre name fusion fantasy promises, and so rarely delivers this cleanly. And as he steps out into the wider world, into the great magic academies, the noble courts, the dueling grounds where the continent's finest young talents measure themselves against one another, Eugene does the thing reincarnators live to do. He walks in looking like a country nobody from a forgotten branch family, and he leaves having humbled people who've trained their whole lives because he is carrying 3 centuries and 1 past life's worth of hard-won instinct behind every strike. The arrogance of the privileged shatters against him over and over, and the story lets you savor every collision. But underneath the wish fulfillment, the deeper plot keeps tightening, because the more powerful Eugene becomes, the more he starts pulling on the threads of why. Why did Vermouth break the oath? Why peace, when victory was so close? And the answers start leading him toward the one place a sane man would never go. Back toward Helmuth. Back toward the demons. And back toward the unfinished war that killed him once already. And here is the turn the whole series bends toward, because a lesser story would keep Eugene safely on the human side of the border, dunking on rival nobles forever. Damn Reincarnation does the braver thing, it sends him straight into the lion's den. Eugene goes to Helmuth, to the Devildom itself, the nation of the demons ruled now by the surviving demon kings, including the one who killed him, the Demon King of Incarceration, the very monster Vermouth made peace with. And what Eugene finds there is the most disorienting discovery of his second life. The demons are not what the song said. Helmuth, under 3 centuries of Vermouth's grace, has become something complicated. A real civilization with its own nobility, its own politics, its own people who were children when the war ended and have known nothing but coexistence. Eugene, walking in expecting the faceless evil he died fighting, instead meets demons who are proud, clever, dangerous, occasionally honorable, and some of whom become genuine, if wary, companions. He even crosses paths with figures of the Demon King's own circle, navigating a court where one wrong word could restart a war, and where his own legend, the legend of Hamel, the foolish hero who died here, still echoes in the oldest halls. This is where the series earns its weight. Eugene came back burning to finish the killing, but the world he wants to set on fire turns out to be full of living people, and the simple revenge quest he carried out of his old life starts to fracture against a far more uncomfortable truth. Vermouth's peace, however much it felt like betrayal from inside a coffin, saved an entire generation on both sides. The war Eugene died for might not be the war that still needs fighting. And yet the threat is real too, because beneath the diplomacy, the Demon King of Destruction still looms, the strongest of them all, the one even the 5 heroes never reached, biding power in the dark. Coexistence is a truce, not an ending, and there are forces, demonic and otherwise, that want the truce to fail. Eugene finds himself less an avenger and more a hinge, the one man alive who remembers the old war firsthand, standing exactly between the peace Vermouth built and the catastrophe that could unmake it. Slowly, the picture of his old friend reassembles. Eugene begins to understand that Vermouth did not break the oath out of weakness or fear. He laid down the sword because he saw further than any of them, saw that endless slaughter would consume the very people they were trying to protect, and chose the harder, lonelier, more thankless path of building something that could last. The betrayal Eugene woke up raging against turns out to be the deepest act of heroism in the entire saga. His best friend didn't fail him. His best friend grew up in a way Hamel, in his single fierce life, never had the years to. And then the story reaches back even further than 300 years, and the floor drops out beneath everything. Because Hamel the Foolish was not Eugene's first life, it was his second. Long, long before, in the mythological era at the dawn of the world, there lived a being called Agaroth, a human who fought his way up out of mortality and into the ranks of the divine, a warrior who became by raw will and slaughter a god, the god of war. And Agaroth, in that ancient age, was killed by the Demon King of Destruction, and with his death, the entire mythological era came to an end. Hamel was Agaroth reborn. Eugene is Hamel reborn. The soul carrying this story has died as a god and died as a hero, and across all those lifetimes the same enemy keeps reappearing at the end of the road. Destruction. The strongest Demon King, the thing that has now killed him at least once across the ages and intends to do so again. This is the reveal that recontextualizes the entire premise. Eugene is not simply a salty veteran with a grudge. He is the latest incarnation of a being whose conflict with the Demon King of Destruction is older than recorded history. A duel resumed across mythological time. Every art he reinvents, every star he turns, every contract and blade he gathers because somewhere in his bones he already knows the final opponent, and already knows the last time as a literal god it was not enough. So the absurd premise of the world's strongest warrior that keeps reincarnating to finish a war that keeps outliving him is played here with total sincerity because the story keeps raising the stakes underneath it rather than crashing them in. Eugene's growth is no longer a noble's training montage, it is the rearmament of a soul that has lost this fight before and refuses to lose it as a third life. He inherits Vermouth's legacy, masters arts no single lifetime could have produced, walks as an equal among demons and dragons and spirit kings, and points all of it with the patience of a man who has had centuries to think about it, at the one enemy who's always been waiting at the end. The genius of damn reincarnation is that it never loses the human scale while doing this. For all the mythology, the beating heart stays small and true, a brash, big-hearted warrior who once threw his life away for his friends, given the rarest gift imaginable, a second chance to do right by the people he died for, and the slow grudging wisdom to understand that doing right by them might not mean what his younger, foolish self assumed. As the latest chapters, Eugene's story is still being written. The web novel runs well past 450 chapters, and the manhwa is steadily catching up, season by season. So I won't pretend to hand you a tidy final page, because there isn't one yet. But the shape of the ending the series is climbing toward is unmistakable. Eugene Lionheart will go back into the dark one more time. He will finish what the five heroes started and Vermouth was forced to pause. Not as a blind avenger any longer, but as a man who finally understands the cost of both war and peace, and chooses with open eyes which battles are actually worth fighting. The titles pile up around him: God of War, Dragon Slayer, Ghost of the Battlefield, Hero of Light. But the one that matters is the one he has been earning quietly across 3 lifetimes. A man who keeps coming back, who keeps standing up, who keeps putting his body between the people he loves and the thing that wants to destroy them. The foolish hero died once protecting his friend. The whole of Damn Reincarnation is the story of him learning that the courage to die was never the hard part. The hard part, the part it takes 3 lives to learn, is the courage to live and to build, and to forgive the friend who chose to do exactly that while everyone called it betrayal. Damn Reincarnation is a web novel by the author Mogma, adapted into a thriving manhwa by Wooden Horse, with the story by Park Jong-yeol, and artwork by Terrapin Studio. The novel runs well over 450 chapters and the manhwa continues across multiple seasons, so there has never been a better moment to start the climb and catch up before the war reaches its end. If you love a reincarnation story where the power fantasy is real and earned, but the emotional core is even stronger than the fights, a hero rebuilding himself from a baby's body, a betrayal that turns out to be the deepest loyalty of all, and an enemy older than the world itself, this is one of the very best the genre has ever produced. It takes absurd premise dead seriously, and that sincerity is why this lands every time. And if this recap held you to the end, subscribe, because the Manhwa Recap Vault covers the stories that define the genre, and Damn Reincarnation is one worth carrying with you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next recap.